Good morning, 3EB. I'm hoping you're watching this on Tuesday morning, the second day of our school week this week. And the first thing I have to do is apologise for all the confusion I caused yesterday with the whole back to front numbers thing. You saw what happened. So when I thought you were seeing things back to front, you weren't. It was just me seeing things back to front on this screen that I'm talking into. So as I was trying to make things straightforward for you, I was actually totally confusing the matter. So I hope you just had a little laugh about that and thought, what is she talking about? What a wally is what I would have to say about myself. So I do apologise for that. And now I've just written things up normally, and I know that even though they look weird to me on this screen, they look fine to you, and they will look fine to you when you watch your YouTube clip. Okay, so today, your work for today, the first thing on the list is the second part of your spellbound exercises. And I noticed there was there's an exercise about alphabetical order, which is one of the ones you find hard, I know, because there are so many words that you have to find the order for. So maybe one thing you could do is, instead of writing the list down immediately, maybe you could just number the words on the list so that you've decided what the alphabetical order is before you transfer them over to the writing down list, and see how you find that. And just to remind ourselves about finding alphabetical order, maybe we could just have a look at some of the words that I've got listed up here. Ignore the numbers, that's for later. So the words I've got up here, they're not list words. Well, in fact, one of them is, isn't it? One of them has got an ER ending, but they're not list words generally. They're just some words that came to mind today because I've been weighing some ingredients as I was doing some baking, something that I hope you're going to be doing this week. So let's think about having to put these words in alphabetical order. What have we got? Sugar, cocoa, eggs, butter, chocolate, and milk. Even if we couldn't read them or understand those words, as long as we know our alphabet, we can still list them alphabetically, can't we? Okay, because all we need to do is look for which of our first letters come first in alphabetical order. So let's have a little look. We're looking at S, C, E, B, C again, and M. Okay, so alphabetically, if I start with my A, I haven't got anything that starts with A. B, have I got one that starts with B? I certainly have. I've only got one of them that starts with B. Okay, so that's first in alphabetical order, isn't it? Okay, A, B. Now I need to go to C. I've got this one that starts with C. Have I got any more? I do. I've got cocoa and chocolate starting with C. So before, I can't put 2 and 2 because they're not exactly the same word. So to remind myself to decide which of these two comes first alphabetically, I need to look to the next letter and see if the next letter is the same. So in cocoa, my second letter is an O, and in chocolate, my second letter is an H. Good, they're not the same, O and H, so I need to decide which of those comes first alphabetically. So off I go with my alphabet again. I'm going to see whether I get to O or H first. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. I got there. I got there before there. H. Okay, so that's, out of the two of them, that comes first. But I've already got a number 1, so this is now my number 2, and this will be my number 3. Okay, good. Okay, so where did I get to? Oh no, I got to C, A, B, C. Let's carry on. A, B, C. D, no. E, yes. I've got one beginning with E, and only one beginning with E. So I've got first, second, third, now fourth in alphabetical order. Okay, what have I got left? I've got S for sugar and N for milk. Now I might know straight away whether M or S comes first alphabetically. If I'm not sure, I just check through my alphabet. So I got up as far as E, A, B, C, D, E. Let's carry on. F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M. I've got there. Okay, I've got to M. Okay, so that was first, second, third, fourth. That means my M for milk makes that word number 5, and I've only got that one left, so that is 6 in this particular list. Okay, so maybe what you could do is put the numbers over the top of the list words and then write your list out afterwards. That might help. Okay, right, let's get back to our numbers, our 6 times table. So yesterday, well, I wrote them all out back to front. Let's see if we can just put them in normally now, just to remind ourselves. Okay, so let's do it together. Okay, that pen isn't working brilliantly. Let's try this one. Okay, so I better crouch down. Off we go. We good? Okay, 0 times 6. You know, don't let it trick you, is 0. Yep. 1 times 6 has got to be 6. 2 times 6. Let me hear you. Yes, 12. 2 times 6, same as double 6. Okay. 3 times 6. Same as 6 times 3, which you learned last week. 3 times 6, 6 times 3. Yeah, well done, you lot. 18. Okay. 4 times 6. You've done your 4 times table as well. So 6 times 4, if you can remember, is 24. Good. Okay. 5 times 6. Same as 6 times 5. 30. Okay. 6 times 6. Well, that's one lot more of 6 than the last one. So I'm just going to add on another group of 6 for 30. Yeah, 36. Okay. 7 times 6. What do I get next? Count them through if I need to. Another group of 6 added onto that is my 42. Let's put some commas there because they're getting close together. Okay. 8 times 6. Same as 6 times 8, which you've learned before. Okay, let's take that up to 48. Okay, 9 times 6, that's a bit tricky. What I might do actually is do my 10 times 6, that's easy. 10 times 6, 6 times 10 is 60, and think that 9 times 6 is just one group of 6 less than that, which makes it 54. Maybe that helps. Okay, right, I'm not going to dwell on that too much longer. After yesterday's confusion, it's a question of going through and learning it and practicing it. Okay. What we did have for our work today, though, is writing out the number families. Okay. Now I'm looking at the screen. There's not a lot of white paper left there, so let me just move this up. Okay, that works. What, do you think that's going to fall down? I think that's quite possible. Oops, with me, especially when I'm getting all twisted up in my wires. Okay. So, your maths work for today asks you to write out all the number families linked to the 6 times table. So let's just remind ourselves what we mean by that. We talked about multiplication and division being part of the same family. Okay, and we talked about these families having normally 4 members in them, 2 multiplication members and 2 division members. Okay, so we're going to make a family here. Okay, a big family. We know we need 3 number members. Okay, so let's take something from the 6 times table. Whatever one you pick. I wonder if I can hear you. Whoever picked 7 times 6, we'll take that one. Okay, 7 times 6. Okay, 7 times 6 is 42, isn't it? You can see that up there. Okay, so can I make another member of the family another part of the family using our 3 number members? Of course I can. I know that 7 times 6 is 42, so I can swap it over, can't I? 6 times 7 is 42. I hope you're thinking, oh yeah, I remember that. I found that really easy. Do you remember? Okay, we remind ourselves that when we're multiplying, the largest family member, number member, has to be the answer. Because we're going to end up with the biggest number if we multiply two numbers together. Okay, and then the opposite to that is when we're dividing, we need to start off with the biggest number and then split it up and make it smaller. So I've used my 42. What else could I use? I could use now my 6, and the number missing is 7. Or I could divide that big number by 7, and obviously I'm going to have my missing number there. Okay? I'm not going to go through every single group because I know you should be saying, oh yeah, I know that, I remember that, I can do that. Okay? So I'm hoping that's ringing lots and lots of bells. So you would, on a piece of paper, need to do this for each part of the 6 times table. Okay, so you'll have a 0 times 6 is 0, 1, and the family that goes with it. A 1 times 6 is 6, and then the family that goes with it. 2 times 6 is 12, and the family that goes with it, with 2 multiplications and 2 divisions. Do remember, every now and again, we do get a smaller family, or we get twins in the family. I'll leave you to see if you can remember about that. Okay, right, what's next? Muscles. Oh, right, oops. Hang on, muscles. That's why I put a t-shirt on, to try and demonstrate something with my enormous muscles, which I haven't got. Okay, so first of all today you're asked to watch the PowerPoint called Muscular. I didn't make that PowerPoint, I found it, in fact it was passed on to me and I thought it looked very useful and not too difficult to understand, but it's got some good diagrams, some good pictures in there to show you. So it tells you all about muscles being attached to the bone with something called tendons. Okay, so within our limbs, for instance, or all around our body, we know about our skeleton, and then we know that those muscles, like we drew on our muscle man yesterday, or you jigsawed him together, are attached to the bones with these stretchy bands, okay? Strings almost, which we call tendons, okay? And you might even have heard about somebody hurting themselves because you can damage your tendons, okay, and tear a tendon, which can be really very, very painful. Okay. Also, it talks about the muscles working in pairs. Now, we can't always see that or imagine it, but they do. And possibly the easiest one to demonstrate that with is these muscles in the top of our arms, okay? Because when we say, oh, look at my muscles, we quite often do this and show off, not in my case, show off this muscle here, okay? Now this muscle, you might have noticed from some of the diagrams, is called your bicep, okay? So the bicep is on that part of your arm. And round the back here, if I try and keep it tensed, this muscle, you can just about see it because it's not very strong. This muscle here is the tricep, okay? So we have the bicep and the tricep, and they work together. So when you pull up like this, because a muscle only pulls, okay? When you pull up like this muscle here does something called contract, okay? So it kind of tightens up and it pulls. And the tricep around here, which is it's attached to something which we call relax, and it goes straight, okay? When I want to straighten my arm, however, I'm going to do the opposite movement. Instead of pulling up, I'm going to go back down again. So at this point, it's my tricep that's working harder, okay? It's my tricep that's contracting, and whilst I'm doing that, my bicep is now relaxing, okay? So each muscle works in a pair, okay? And as one contracts, one pulls, the other one relaxes. It's kind of like straightens out, okay? And that comes up not only on the PowerPoint, but it also comes up in the comprehension that you're going to look at. The comprehension, which is this. It looks like that, okay, for you to do afterwards. And I've realised as well that there are a couple of things in here which maybe aren't super clear, and one of them actually seems to go against something that says that you're told in the PowerPoint. So in the PowerPoint, I think they refer to 300 or so muscles in the human body, whereas here, the very first missing word, it's like, well, we have over strong, stretchy muscles all over our bodies. And if we look down at the choice of words and numbers here, 600, 10 and 12 are the only numbers available. So you would think it would be 600. Yeah, on the PowerPoint it said 300 or so. Okay, so here they're referring to individual muscles, whereas on the PowerPoint they're referring to groups and pairs of muscles as well. Okay, so it's the 600 one that you want to go on here. Okay, that could be a little bit confusing. The other two numbers refer to the muscles in the face that you use when you smile or frown. Okay, and you use more muscles when you frown than you do when you smile. There's a little hint for something that comes up in the comprehension. Also on your PowerPoint as well, it talks to you about how some muscles we decide we want to use. So if I want to pick up this book, so I'm stretching out and I'm using my tricep here, okay, I've decided I want to stretch over and use that muscle along with my bones to pick up this book. So I've decided my brain has sent a message to my muscle to do that. Okay, so some of our muscles are what we call voluntary. We volunteer them, we decide that they're going to work. Other muscles in our body work without us telling them to. So for instance, your heart is a muscle because it moves all the time as it pumps blood around your body, something that you'll study more when you're in the 4th year. But you don't keep sending messages to your heart all the time, deciding that you're going to make your heart pump, that muscle move. It's called an involuntary muscle because your body just does it for you. Okay, the messages are already there, keeping your heart working involuntarily. But it's quite unusual to think that the heart is a muscle. Okay, and that's one of the reasons why we have to keep our heart healthy and strong, because it's something that's working all the time. Okay, I think that's all I was going to mention regarding muscles for the time being. Yeah, okay. I'm just being distracted actually because I was thinking about your Padlet walls as well. Well done. There are so many lovely, lovely things up on that Padlet wall. I hope you're getting a chance to have a look. Seeing some of your smiles really makes me smile and use those muscles in my face when I have a look at that. What else did I bring? Yes, The Firework Maker's Daughter. I keep bringing this and showing it to you, but you haven't got the book. You've got obviously the photos of the pages to read. L1 workers on this, you have a drawing task to do. In chapter 3, you have been reading about Rambashi, one of the pirates, and we know he's not really a very good pirate, nor are his crew for that matter, because they haven't been pirates very long. They're under the leadership of Rambashi, who seems to be somebody who keeps changing his idea about what he's going to do with his life and what his next business adventure is going to be. What's the next way that he's going to try and make money? So he's realised that he's not very good at making money as a pirate. He certainly didn't make any money out of capturing Leela. And on page 40, he's chatting with Leela, and Leela's just about to leave, and he's trying to convince her to maybe stay or lend him some money that he can use for his next business idea. And he says, "So, oh really, Leela, this is a much better idea than piracy. It came to me in a flash, just as I saw the boat floating away." Yeah, all my best ideas come to me in a flash, and this one is a corker. That means it's a really good one. It can't fail. "Is there any food in it?" said a pirate. My dear boy, said Rambashi, it's built on food. Just wait till you hear about it. Okay, now they're the clues that you get, and there aren't many there, about maybe what Rambashi's next business idea is. And L1 workers, one of your tasks today is if you can draw for me what you imagine Rambashi's next business idea is going to be. But you need to do that before you read the rest of the chapter, which is set for you to do on Thursday, I think, because you'll find out quite soon in the story what his business idea is. It's not a test, it would be interesting to see what you think is going to come up. Right, okay, I think that's that for the time being. I don't seem to have, I hope, caused too much confusion today. All right, Stig of the dump. Midsummer is, I think I need to take these off because they've got little bells on them and I think they might jangle as I'm reading. I don't know if you can hear them jangling. There's enough jangling with the church bells going outside. Right, okay, so we have Lou, we have Barney, we have Dinah the dog, we have the horse, pony Flash, and in their midsummer madness, it's gone midnight, it's midnight on midsummer night, and there feels like there's something unusual in the air. Things don't seem quite right. They've seen a stag where they wouldn't normally see a stag, if you remember, and the countryside looks different to what it does normally when they're around in the daytime, or any other time for that matter. So they're bounding towards, they're galloping straight for the edge of the pit. That's where we got to. Let's do a little bit more. The pit was there all right, the pony poised on the edge, and then with a spring and a scramble which kept them too busy clinging with legs and hands to think what was happening, Flash was down and up the other side. What had happened? Instead of the great quarry, there was a mere scratch in the ground. There was no quarry there, where it should have been. And now nothing was familiar, nothing seemed normal. They expected every minute to come upon the cornfield, which was normally next to the copse. But the bushes and glades just stretched on and on. They were treading the slope which should have led to the lane, and Flash slowed down a little, but from far ahead came Dinah's mad yelping and the crashing of undergrowth, and the pony needed no urging to pursue the hunt. And still no landmarks came in sight, no open fields, no hedges, no orchards, no farms, only hazelnut trees, beech woods, and the chalky hillside. Without a rein to guide or restrain him, the pony went like the wind, his head well up, and Barney and Lou could only cling there with their bare legs and look with round eyes at the strange landscape. Barney, gasped Lou, clinging to her brother more tightly than she had ever done before. We're dreaming all of this, really. You might be, but I'm not, Barney shouted against the wind, and twined his fingers more deeply into the pony's mane. They were galloping up a little valley between clumps of bramble and taller bushes. There was no sound of barking from Dinah. Suddenly there in the moonlight was the dog, lying stretched out on the turf, right in front of them. The pony slowed and swerved. The children fell off in a tangle of limbs onto the soft ground that smelt of wild thyme, which you might know as a herb. And the pony trotted off casually to get his breath back. Of the stag, there was no sign. Barney and Lou sorted themselves out. Lou tried to stand up, but her legs felt woolly after using them to cling on with for so long, and so she sat back down again. Well, Dinah, she said to the dog, where's the stag then? Couldn't you catch it? Never mind, you're not a stag hound anyway, are you? Are you, Dinah? And then she turned to Barney. Barney, if we're not dreaming all this, where are we? I don't know, replied Barney. Let's go on a little bit further. Maybe we'll find out. There was a line of beech trees at the top of the little valley, and Barney felt there must be something the other side of them. He scrambled up the slope, went between the dark trunks and beyond them, but there was nothing. It was like flying. Smooth turf is the clods of ground at the top of the ground. Smooth turf sloped down steeply under his feet, and far below the land was spread out like a map. "Lou," he called, "look where we are!" And they realised they were standing on the edge of the North Downs. Now, the North Downs is a well-known hilly area in the south of England. It was a place they knew well enough, and the moon made everything look as clear as day. And yet, the more they looked, the stranger it seemed. There should have been pylons, like the big towers that carry electricity cables. There should have been pylons striding over the land, carrying electric cables. There should have been squares of orchards and farm fields, villages and churches. They couldn't see them. There should have been the cement works, big factory in the distance by the river. And where was the tall transmission mast with the red light flashing on top? They didn't seem to be there. They could see nothing but forest and heath over the whole floor of the valley, and out of the night strange animal noises came up to them. And in all this stretch of empty land there were only three points of light twinkling to show that man was somewhere about. The nearest light was only a little way along the side of the hills, and now they could hear human voices coming from it. "It's a campfire," said Barney. "Come on, Lou, let's go and see." "But it might be savages or something," said Lou doubtfully. "There aren't any savages in England." "Well, there aren't any stags in this part of England normally, and we just saw one. And this doesn't really feel like England." "Well, it must be somewhere," said Barney. "Let's go and ask those people." "I think we should be careful," said Lou. "Let's just creep up through the woods and have a look first." They went back into the shadow of the beechwoods and made their way as quietly as they could over the crackling leaves. "Dinah, heel!" whispered Lou. "Barney, I wish we had a lead for Dinah. She might give us away." "I've got some string in my pocket, I think," said Barney, and he rummaged in his pockets and found a coil of hairy string which he'd taken from the run of beans that seemed to have finished with it. They tied the string to Dinah's collar and went on very cautiously. Soon the sounds of the camp were quite near, and they could see the red firelight flickering through the black beech trunks. "It sounds as if they're having a party," said Lou. "Listen, music." "That's not music," said Barney. "Well, it's jazz or something," said Lou. And as they moved towards the firelight, keeping to the shadows, the noises were so loud they didn't have to worry about keeping quiet themselves. They reached the last beech tree of the wood, a giant with thick roots coiling into the chalky soil and broad boughs spreading out towards the slope on which the camp stood. "What are you doing, Barney?" hissed Lou, as Barney started scrambling onto one of the spreading branches. "I'm going to climb this tree and see what I can see." "Well, so am I then." "What about Dinah? You can't bring her up here." "I'll tie her up," said Lou. "Dinah, lie down. Shh, be quiet. There's a good dog."